Now, as I said yesterday, and as I've just talked about this morning to do with the Ngāi Tahu case, our next guest was part of that as well. He's been, if you like, the leading, I would suggest to you, leading academic environmentalist in this country. He's an activist. I don't think farming lobby groups are particularly fond of him. He started at Massey University and then ended up at Victoria. Was made redundant, as we were just talking about yesterday before we got cut off so rudely by our internet provider. But he joins us again now to talk about the latest environment report, the State of Environment report that's been published by the Ministry for the Environment. I'm also going to have a chat to him about just being a witness at the Ngāi Tahu case and environmental matters in general. Mike Joy joins us. Dr. Mike Joy joins us now. Mike, welcome back. Sorry about yesterday, mate. Bad provider. Shocking.
Yeah,
Apologise.
you must have been frustrated, I can imagine.
Yeah, it wasn't good because we were just starting our conversation. Listen, we got to the part where you were working at Massey University, you went to Victoria, you've ended up as an ecology lecturer there, and you
Yep.
got made redundant. How did you get made redundant? Because, I mean, I would have thought that, basic science was sort of the basic role of a university. What happened?
Yeah, but yeah, it was a combination thing. I mean, a whole bunch of scientists did get made redundant because the university didn't have enough money. But in my case, it was more about the institute was funded by the Gamma Foundation based in Christchurch, and they had a change of direction, and the institute was living off an endowment, and they
Right.
decided to change direction, and so there was four of us that were made redundant.
But you're back now, aren't you? You're back at
Yep.
Victoria University. So somebody else
Yeah.
has picked up the funding, is that right?
Yes, the Morgan Foundation now pay for my position, and I work in the School of Geography, Earth and Environmental Sciences now. I'm a lecturer and a researcher in there, but
Okay.
funded by the Morgan Foundation.
It's an uncertain existence, isn't it, if you don't have tenure, I have to say.
Yeah, yeah. But it's I mean it's a tricky situation for all scientists in New Zealand. There are lots of them have been laid off recently. Um, it's hard, and at a time when science is never more important, it is really frustrating.
Okay, you've made a name for yourself probably over the last decade for being probably New Zealand's leading scientific environmental activist. And as I said, you're probably the bête noire of certain farming groups in this country.
Mm.
What drove you into the view that you need to sound the alarm and sound it often?
Um, I don't know. I think we're a similar age, and I grew up being told that we lived in this. We were so lucky to live in clean green New Zealand, and I was a dairy farmer and had all sorts of jobs and didn't go to university until my early 30s. And I started at Massey, did a bachelor and then a master's in ecology and then a PhD in ecology and started teaching there. And it was just through that whole process, just incredibly eye opening. It was a time when a lot of destruction was happening in New Zealand, but it was the realization that I'd been sold a lie about clean green New Zealand, and it was I guess, yeah, my anger about that made me want to speak up and try and do something about it because I took it really personally.
You didn't join, or did you, the Greens Party, which was, I was just talking about Jeanette Fitzsimons and Rod Donald, the formation of it when it first started, had an awful lot
No,
to do
no,
with
I
it.
never had anything to do with I knew them both, but I didn't have anything to do with the Green Party. I've never belonged to it or anything like that. I've always um, had to keep away from any affiliation like that because it's the kind of first question that you get asked, and when you're a witness, an expert witness in a I even in one of the hearings over the Mokinui Dam on the west coast of the South Island got asked by the lawyers for the power company, did I belong to this radical group, Forest and Bird? Um, because my science couldn't be taken seriously if I belonged to something like that, and I don't, because belonging to anything like that can be seen as an association that might make you biased.
Okay. Now, the other thing that strikes me is that you have been particularly strong on water and the status of
Mhm.
water. In the Ministry for the Environment report that was published last week, I think, end of last week, our Environment 2025, it's a sort of a status report, comes out every, 3 years, isn't it, at the moment? There is a suggestion, and it doesn't just cover water, but it covers land and marine and air as well. But I just want to concentrate on freshwater for a moment. The suggestion is that freshwater quality is spotty throughout the country, I think. Some areas it's in decline, some areas it's okay, some areas it's actually improving. If you had to make an assessment, where would you think that freshwater quality would be at its worst in this country? And then also, Mike, at its best? Hello? So,
Some of the cleanest rivers and lakes in the
oh,
world
sorry,
in the high country.
sorry, Mike, I just can't hear you. I
Oh
just I
no,
just
yeah,
asked a,
because
I
you
just
cut
asked a
out on
question.
me as well.
Oh, okay. I'll repeat the question.
No, no, I
Um,
got it in the, I got
yep,
it.
yep.
Okay. So we have some of the cleanest rivers in New Zealand in the high country, and we have the dirtiest in the bottom ends of the catchments where intensive farming. And probably Canterbury would be among the worst, but Southland's very quickly catching up um, on some of the worst. And it's just purely, you can predict it easily by the intensity of farming in the catchment, and it accumulates downstream. So you get rivers like the Selwyn River that flows into Te Waihora Lake Ellesmere, where we have nitrogen flux. So the amount of nitrogen going down that river is higher than almost any other river in the world. So we could find two rivers, the Yangtze and the Yellow River in China, rivers in China had slightly higher fluxes, but then it came the Selwyn, and then the Manawatu, and then the Waikato, and then a bunch of other. Even the Mississippi was further down the list than that, and even the Thames River was better. So
And so the
that,
reason that there is so much nitrogen in that water, or those waterways, and that you're right,
yeah.
that's not exactly a great company, is you're
Mm.
suggesting because of the move from what was essentially beef and lamb into intensive dairy farming. Is that right?
Yeah, but also the dairy farming intensified massively as well. So if you go back to the 90s when I was farming, or late 80s, that we would have, the average around New Zealand was around 1 cow per hectare. In Canterbury, well, over the country, it's about 3.8, closer to 4 in parts of Canterbury, cows per hectare. So that's that mass. That's not, a linear 4 times increase. It's an exponential increase in the amount of nitrogen, and the source of that nitrogen is crucial too. It's coming from fossil fuels. So three quarters from the Middle East and 1/4 from our gas off Taranaki. So that, to me, that's this is all new nitrogen. We make globally, we being humans, through the Haber-Bosch process, make more reactive nitrogen than all of the natural sources put together now. So this is all over and above natural levels that are in our rivers and ends up in our lakes and oceans.
Is it an inevitability that if you put nitrogen, in your view, Mike, on any soil to make the grass grow better or longer, quicker, if you put any nitrogen on, that then must immediately leach off into our waterways, whether it's aquifer waterways or our rivers and streams?
No, I mean, it's not my view. It's a fact, and it's via the cows. It's You put it on to grow the grass. The cows eat the grass. The nitrogen, only a tiny amount of that goes out with the milk. It's excreted by the cow out through her urine, and that's the pathway. So 75 to 80% of the nitrogen she consumes goes straight back out again through her urine. So it's not the fertilizer, directly. It's via the urine is the pathway that it ends up in the waterways.
Okay. Is there a solution to that? Is there any way in which you can see any scientific advancement that says we want to reduce the amount of nitrogen, or is you just have to reduce the nitrogen going onto the land?
I think that the simplest and easiest way is to not have so many cows. And we used to fix nitrogen naturally. We had a fine, perfectly healthy dairy industry in New Zealand before nitrogen fertilizer, when we fixed nitrogen through clover and the grass. But now, with the synthetic stuff, we've completely altered that. And it's very addictive for farmers. Once you put it on, then you have to keep putting it on. And so we could have get locked into this trap of having to continually do that forever. And clearly, fossil fuels aren't going to be around forever, and so this isn't going to be able to continue forever.
No, but they're going to be around for a long time yet, though. I mean, the reality is they're not going to finish tomorrow or even 10 years' time. The government at the moment is saying that they want to increase the amount of production that comes out of New Zealand to grow the pie, in essence.
Mhm.
And that means surely further intensification, particularly in our primary dairy markets, wouldn't it? Or products.